I've probably been in it for 20 something years now, 20 plus years now. It certainly changes, that's for sure. No other industry I've ever been involved with changes as fast as our one does. And that's a challenge in and unto itself, but it's also the exciting part of it for all of us that have got this red shiny object syndrome where we love seeing all this new stuff and get excited about all this new stuff. And the MSP industry is a great industry to be in for people like us that love that variety and that change and that never-ending updates and new things to play with out there.
Welcome back to the MSP Security Playbook, the podcast that helps MSPs cut through the noise, eliminate inefficiencies, and build stronger, more profitable security businesses. I'm your host, Jacob Hazelbaker, Business Development Representative here at Heimdal Security, an industry-leading unified and AI-powered cybersecurity solutions provider. And today, I'm diving into a critical topic, the future of MSPs, and what you need to do to stay ahead. As the role of the MSP continues to evolve, staying relevant means thinking beyond traditional IT support and moving toward automation, business consulting, and strategic advisory. We've got a packed episode lined up for you, including our threat briefing, where we'll share some of the latest news from the cybersecurity world today. We also have our MSP Playbook, where we'll be joined by Mr. Nigel Moore, founder of the Tech Tribe. You may have heard of it, if you're an MSP especially. Nigel's helped thousands of MSPs around the world scale smarter, and he's here to share what top-performing MSPs are doing differently and where the industry is heading. Then we'll jump into the play-by-play where I'll break down some of the key takeaways from the conversation with Mr. Nigel Moore and what it could mean for your business. And finally, in the MSP Hot Seat, we're answering a listener-submitted question about making the leap from technical support to strategic consulting with insight from our Heimdal experts. It's a high-value episode, so grab your coffee and let's get into it.
Thank you, Jacob. And hello, guys. My name is Adam Pilton. I'm a cybersecurity advisor here at Heimdal. And here's the cyber threats MSPs should care about this week. Attackers are targeting 13 commonly used routers, and many are still in production environments. A new FBI alert warns that 13 specific router models used in small offices, home offices, and hybrid work environments are under active exploitation. These routers are being targeted using known, unpatched vulnerabilities, and in many cases, the devices are end of life, meaning there are no security updates coming. Once compromised, attackers can gain remote access, intercept traffic, install malware, and potentially pivot deeper into the networks, all without being noticed. Now, this isn't an overplayed risk. These routers are widely used, and there's a good chance at least one of your clients has them deployed right now. And we've seen this coming. Network devices, including routers, firewalls, VPN appliances, remain prime targets. Vendors like Fortinet, Cisco, and Palo Alto experienced significant vulnerabilities exploited throughout 2024, and this trend is expected to continue. In fact, at the start of this year, a botnet composed of approximately 13,000 hijacked MikroTik routers was uncovered, highlighting just how scalable and dangerous these compromises can be. So, why should this matter to MSPs? First, unmanaged infrastructure equals silent risk. Routers often fall outside your RMM and patching tools, which means they go unmonitored with no logs, no alerts, and attackers know that. Second, this is a big deal for compliance-heavy verticals like finance and healthcare. A single weak link, like an old router, can expose sensitive data or create a breach scenario. Third, and maybe most importantly, client trust is at stake. If a bad actor jumps from a compromised home router into a business network, it's your stack that looks like it's failed. MSPs are trusted to protect environments end to end, even the pieces clients forget about. And finally, we mustn't forget you, MSPs, are a target too. MSPs manage access across clients, which makes your infrastructure incredibly attractive to threat actors. This isn't just about clients, it's about your own exposure. So here are 3 concrete things you should do right now. Number 1, audit all routers in use. especially at remote sites and home offices. Cross-references with the FBI's list, and if you find end-of-life devices, plan to replace, not patch. But please make sure routers are logged and tracked like every other asset. 2. Disable remote administration. As per the FBI's advice, if it's not needed, disable it and remove this attack vector. And 3. Educate your clients. Explain why routers matter. Recommend secure, supported models and strong admin credentials. Reinforce the basics, including firmware updates, password hygiene, and network segmentation. And of course, if you're a Heimdal customer already using the threat hunting, DNS security solutions, or simply our endpoint detection and response, you've already got layer protection in place against threats like this, from DNS-based blocking to lateral movement detection and endpoint hardening. But all tools work best when paired with action. Make sure you've addressed the steps we've discussed, audit your devices, check your logs, talk to your clients, and make sure your defenses are complete, not just assumed. And with that, that's our threat brief done. Back to you, Jacob.
Welcome, Mr. Nigel Moore of the Tech Tribe. How are you today, sir?
I am very well, thank you. How are you, Jacob?
Oh, I'm great. I got my third cup of coffee today. I can't complain. Thank you so much for your time. It's an honor to meet you. I've heard so much about your work through the Tech Tribe, and I'm really excited to chat with you today. And you've been doing this for a long, long time. So something I was really wanted to ask you was, you've seen it evolve over the years. So how would you say like the MSP landscape as a whole has changed over the course of your professional life that you've seen over the years, over time?
It's funny, it's changed dramatically, but not at all, if that makes sense. Like, we've obviously gone through transitions of break fix to managed services and cloud and AI pouring in and all sorts of, and like tool set maturities and tech stack maturities like you wouldn't believe, and cybersecurity, like is just completely blown our entire industry apart. Like all those changes are massive in there when you look at it, but at the core, really, it just comes back down to businesses of people helping other people with technology, and that core thing just hasn't changed that whole way. It's just the tech around the outside changes, the business, the delivery of it changes, but at the core of the whole thing, when you pare all the layers back, it's just still people helping people, and people helping small businesses, and just figuring out, taking all that technical weight off their shoulders so they can go and focus on being the best lawyers, accountants, doctors, architects, whatever it happens to be that they do. So the core of it's the same, but holy heck, has it changed a heck of a lot over I've probably been in it for 20 something years now, 20 plus years now. And it certainly changes, that's for sure. There's nothing changed. Like no other industry I've ever been involved with changes as fast as our one does. And that's a challenge in and unto itself, but it's also the exciting part of it for all of us that have got this red shiny object syndrome, where we love seeing all this new stuff and get excited about all this new stuff. And the MSP industry is a great industry to be in for people like us that love that variety and that change and that never-ending updates and new things to play with out there.
Oh, and to be open with you, that's exactly why I got into cybersecurity, just because I knew I wanted a job where I could go into it not having a clue what I was going to face today or even what I'd be doing tomorrow or next year. So I love
You're
the
in the
changing
right
aspect
industry.
of the MSP world.
Yeah,
Too. I think you're
definitely
right.
in the right industry.
I found my place.
Yep, 100%.
And it's interesting you mentioned the break fix part, because one of the MSPs I chatted with a few weeks ago, he mentioned something that really stuck with me. He said he's found more so this past year or two that a lot of his clients are needing more and more basic troubleshooting help and things like that. And the way he framed it was, he thought, well, maybe over these last many years, the younger generations that are coming into the workforce, they are extremely good with technology, but they grew up with technology that generally worked pretty well. Whereas like some of the older, more seasoned people in the field, they dealt with dial-up internet networks that really kind of work, but not so great half the time. So I was also just curious, what is your take on that, as for just kind of the troubleshooting break fix part versus how that's changed over time?
Yeah, good question. It's generationally, you've got these people, like my kids are too young to be in the workforce yet, but there's these young people joining the workforce that, as you say, have grown up with technology being a main part of their lives versus us that grew up with no technology to start off with for the many years. And so, and you say this, like, we talk about technology getting simpler and more reliable over time, but the reality is I've still not seen that anywhere out there in the world. Like, the reason being is that there's so much technology out there that needs to be integrated and connected and updated and talking to each other and whatnot. That the world of the layers of complexity just keep stacking on and stacking on and stacking on. In that, and so issues happen lots and lots and lots, and there's all these different types of issues. And even for these people that grew up in native technology world, like, these issues still happen that, especially around technology stacks and cybersecurity stacks and connectivity and all those sorts of things and secure access and all that sort of stuff. Like, issues pop up like that all the time. And these native technology generations, whatever you call it, Gen Zs, or I don't know what generations line up with what age groups, but they still need help of seasoned experts that understand that whole back end stuff in there. And sure, it probably gets rid of the basics. Like, if you look across the MSP landscape as a whole, and you look at the number of printer issues that might be getting raised nowadays, or Outlook troubleshooting issues or whatever that are getting raised out nowadays, they're probably lowering over time as you're getting these digital native people start coming into workforces that can troubleshoot all that stuff on their own. Plus, obviously, people this last year or so, with the rise of AI and LLMs, the people I'm seeing lots of digital native people that grew up with this stuff, or that are pretty au fait with this stuff, asking the questions to the LLM versus asking the questions to their IT support to start off with. And that's getting rid of a bunch of that level 1 stuff in there. But we've all known for the last decade that level 1 IT support is not where the value is in our industry. It's not where you make your money. It's one of those things that's just got to be done, because you've got to provide, if you're providing IT support to someone, you've got to do the level 1 nasty stuff. But if that can all be disappeared and gone via people talking to AI and LLMs, then all the better. That means you can take all those steps further up the value chain and start focusing more on the business side of things, which is where the real value is and the real money lies and the real impact that you can have is with your clients in there. So I think it's a good thing. And I think it's continually morphing and changing, and these digital people that grew up with digital technology all around them are scary at sometimes. Like, I look at my kids and I'm like, holy moly, you guys, like, at your age, I can't imagine what sort of technology skills you are going to have at the age of 18 when you reach there, just because you are light years ahead of the way my brain thought. And like, we're teaching our kids things like systems thinking and understanding coding, not because we want them to be a coder, but just so that they can understand them, like if then else statements and logic loops and all that sorts of things. And when I was their age, I had no clue whatsoever about how any mental models worked or any of that sort of stuff worked. Our kids at 8, 9, and 10, and 11 and whatnot have got pretty good grasps of it. And I hope that all comes out to play in awesome traits and awesome skills as they bring themselves out of the workforce and start figuring out how they're going to contribute to society.
I'm really curious if you were to think, what would be a way for an MSP to reevaluate how they see themselves as they are versus how they could be? Like, what would be one bit of advice you'd say to them to try to reframe it and help them be able to succeed and push past their own boundaries?
I'll frame it in a way that probably relates to most of the MSPs that I work with, that we call nimble MSPs. And the nimble MSP to me is the smaller MSP. So typically on the size of 1 to 20 staff. And so we typically operate in that space. Most MSPs that come into the tech tribe are in that kind of space. And so they're mostly founder-led and founder owner in there. And typically most of those founder owners have built the business up based on referrals, often to that point in time. And they're typically the CTO in the business. They're guiding the tech stack. They're also the sales and marketing person. They're also the person doing the hiring, and sometimes still the service delivery manager in there and whatnot. And I think if I would be giving that advice of, hey, neuroplasticity, like things are changing and morphing all the time. Like, what can you do in your MSP to kind of make it morph and change? What's the biggest thing you've got to work on yourself is that to get from that that MSP where you're the only person on the leadership team and you've got a team of doers underneath you, to that next phase where you've got a team of leaders in the business, is that you got to take that big shift, which is a monumental, for me at least, and for a lot of people that I work with, it's a monumental shift from being a founder-led person that's in the business to being a true CEO of a business, like the true leader of the business, where you're then working on things like vision and mission and values and all those vague things that most people look at and go, like, we don't need a vision and mission and values and stuff for our MSP. We just need to fix computers and do cybersecurity. But as you're going through, as lots of MSPs get to that kind of that ceiling that they're butting up against, where they're unable to grow their leadership team. And I've certainly had this myself a few times over the years as I've built businesses, is that just realizing that shift that you've gone through, that's got you from 0 to 1 to where you are now, your whole world has changed and everything's changed, and you've got a complete different set of beliefs to what you had then. You've got to do the same thing again. You've got to reinvent again, just like Madonna's like the queen of reinvention in there. You've got to reinvent yourself completely again to being a scrappy startup founder that's in the weeds, doing stuff all day, every day, and kind of in control of every single decision in your business, to stepping up to be a CEO that's enabling a team of leadership people around you, that you're pushing decisions down to them and pushing outcomes down to them and trusting on them and providing them the vision and the frameworks and the boundaries and everything to go and operate in, so that the business can go from that 1 to 2 phase or 1 to 5 phase or whatever you want it to be. And I think that's, when you look at it from that space of neuroplasticity, that everything can change and everything can morph, I think it's you've got to look at it from that perspective and realize that everything has to morph, everything has to change if you want to get through that next peak of your business or that next phase of your business. It's what got you to where you are, as the old saying is, what got you where you are is not going to get you to where you want to go in that next phase. You've got to blow the whole lot up and figure out, mash it all together and figure out who you've got to be and what the business has got to be for that next phase.
That's really fascinating. That's something I actually never thought about. So then I'm really curious now, if as MSPs change and technology changes, something I've been dying to ask you, I've actually been thinking about this for a while myself, is how do you see AI and automation impacting MSPs especially?
No idea. No, I'm kidding. I've got some ideas, but holy crap, it changes every single day. And I think you can't parallel it directly with the impact that cloud had in our business, but there's a few common pieces that do parallel a little bit in there, in that certain parts of an MSP's job are now becoming easier in there. I think as we talked about before, like as you start to there's layers to the service delivery that people deliver, like an MSP delivers to their clients. There's layers from, hey, I've got to fix an Outlook issue at layer 1, all the way up to high level business continuity consulting and business process improvement planning and VCIO and all that sort of stuff at the top tier of the stuff in there. And as industries commoditize and mature, like the MSP industry has been really rapidly over the last 5 to 10 years, you've got to, as an MSP, take steps up that value ladder, and you've got to be cognizant and intentional about taking steps up that value ladder to focusing on the stuff that's at the top, like the VCIOs and the business process consulting and the business continuity planning and all those sorts of high level things. And to me, AI is just another step that's in that rung, right? It's just another area in those steps up there, and that all these small businesses out there, especially the ones that aren't digital natives, of which there is tens of millions of businesses that didn't grow up with technology, they're not comfortable with AI, and they're not comfortable with, sure, they might be able to talk to an LLM to have some basic conversations, but they're not comfortable engineering a process in their business that's going to be reliant on AI. And that's massive opportunity for MSPs that understand this stuff conceptually. They understand the security implications of it. They understand the business continuity implications of it. They understand the risk implications of it. And so to me, it's another one of those things that MSPs need to be shining massive spotlights on and coming in and figuring out, how can we help our clients get better at AI? Just because it's the same conversation we had before. How can we help our clients better leverage cloud? How can we help our clients better use and protect themselves with cybersecurity? How can we better help our clients leverage AI to become faster, better, more innovative, more profitable and all those sorts of things. Like, to me, it's just another leverage point that MSPs need to focus on. But holy crap, it's changing like so dramatically and so fast at the moment that it's kind of hard to
Yeah,
figure
it
out,
is.
hey, which area should I focus on first? Like, as an MSP, I've got all these different things that are coming to me, and if I was an MSP in those shoes, what I would be doing is just looking across my client base and figuring out and talking to my clients and figuring out what challenges they've got going on at the moment and what problems they've got going on at the moment that are bleeding neck, painful, costly problems, and figuring out and sitting down with me and my team and figuring out, hey, how can we learn how to leverage AI to help these clients with these pain points, and do that consulting in there and build projects in there, and align with AI vendors so that we become preferred partners, so that we can go in and just like we aligned with the Microsoft stack or the Google stack or whatever, like now let's figure out what AI stacks we're going to align with in here so that we can start to spin up some services and spin up some consulting and spin up some stuff to go and help our clients with that stuff as well, and not try to boil the ocean by trying to learn every single bloody LLM out there and every single AI tool out there. Like, going and just figuring out what pain points our clients are having at the moment around this sort of stuff, or what pain points in general they're having, and then figuring out what sort of stack out there and what sort of tools out there we can leverage to go and help them solve that. And how do I price that in there is going to be one of the challenges at the moment.
What I find so fascinating in my discussion with you today is that so many of the skills and advice you have for MSPs seem not to only just be technical skills, but soft skills. You mentioned MSPs chatting with their clients to find their pain points, doing discovery calls with the clients, seeing what it is they're really concerned about. It sounds like a lot of the skill sets are related to really good active listening skills, maybe some sales skills. So on the point of soft skills for MSPs, what's one bit of advice you have for them for developing that interesting aspect of the
You
business?
just hit the nail on the head. Listen, like literally listen. But to listen, you've got to set yourself up to be in the spaces to be able to have them talking to you as well, right? And I know a lot of MSPs, me included, for many years, used to run this process, like the QBR process, the quarterly business review process, where we would come up with this process where we would get all of the technical crappy reports out of our ticketing systems and our antivirus tools and our backup tools, and we'd go to our client, we'd go, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Client, look at all these. Like, every quarter we'd sit with them and we'd go, look at all these awesome, amazing backup reports and technical reports and patching reports, and our clients' eyes would glaze over and they'd be bored out of their brains and they would never book in their next quarterly business review. And so that's how I used to run them until I learned the right way to do it, which we now teach in the Tech Tribe. But that's that space, that quarterly review, and we don't do them quarterly, or we don't suggest you do them quarterly. Now we suggest, we call them technology business reviews, and we have a specific agenda that you go through in them, and the cadence is based really on the client's needs. Some clients would love to have some sort of business review with their MSP. I've even seen it every 2 weeks, but like every month is a kind of common one. Every 2 months is a common one. Every 3 months is a common one. Sometimes you only need to have your sit down catch up with some clients once a year in there. But that intentional technology business review space is a great space to sit down and not send them any reports about bloody backups and antivirus patching and all that sort of crap, but to sit down and ask pain points and talk to them about their pain points. Like, what are the things that are challenging them at the moment? And then just sit there and open your 2 damn ears and listen. It's, as the old saying goes, you were given 1 mouth and 2 ears for a reason. Like, use the 2 ears and just sit there and listen and ask lots and lots of leading questions and lots of whys. Like, when they come up with something and they say, oh, we're having a problem with this, the next question should be why. Like, why are you having that problem? Well, because this over here is doing that. Well, why is that doing that? And asking why a lot and being that kind of active listener is such an amazing way to, number one, uncover problems and challenges and whatnot that your clients are having. But number two, build incredible trust with your clients to the point where they will more than happily go and hand off entire due diligence processes to you, because they know that you care and they know that you've got that level of curiosity and inquisitiveness, if that's even a word, to be able to dive into their pain points and their challenges so deep that you'd be able to solve them in there. And so that soft skill of just listening, getting yourself in there, like setting up intentional spaces to be able to be with all of your clients as often as possible to listen, is huge. Like, it is massive.
Yeah, I love your your perspective on there, and especially when you mentioned being able to talk to their own pain points so well, like you know 'em in and out. That seems to make such a difference. And it might also tie into something I've been dying to ask you. What, for the sake of an MSP's profitability and success in the next 5 years, what kind of advice would you give them so that they're on the right track to being profitable and successful in 5 years?
I would say that you've got to be making sure that wherever you are in your journey, that you're setting aside some sort of intentional time, either on your own or with your team or your leadership team, to sit down, ideally minimum on a quarterly basis, and do that reflection and looking forward process, so that you're reflecting on what's worked well in the last quarter or the last time period, what hasn't worked well, what lessons have you learned, and then setting your goals and your targets and your directions for the next 3 months and the next 6 months and the next year and the next 3 years in there as well. Lots of MSPs follow the entrepreneurial operating system model, the EOS model, from Gino Wickman's Traction book, which is a great framework to follow, because the success means so many different things to so many different people. But if you don't know what your version of success is, and you haven't outlined it down on some sort of paper or some sort of tangible thing, then you're never going to get there, right? And you're not going to know if you did anyway. And so to me, I'd be just recommending, if you don't have some sort of time outside the business, if you're in the grind and all day, every day, you're turning up solving issues, you don't have some sort of space or time to do it, step up, get yourself up to that 20,000 foot view, and just do it once every quarter. And so that intentional time is just huge. So if you don't have it at the moment, create it. Like today, figure out, lock in a time in your calendar today to go and spend a day away from the business, or even a Saturday away from the business, and just spend that time in reflection and future thought, and figure out what that next layer of success looks like for you.
That's a really great point. I feel like in entrepreneurship, it's way too easy to get into the grind of just, doing the day-to-day task and keeping up with
Oh
what you
yeah.
got to do instead of focusing on where you want to be. So I love that you hit on that, Mr. Nigel Moore. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. I really enjoy you sharing your, not only just like practical advice, but kind of like, it's going to stick with me, your own operating system, known little bits of what makes you you, that's really helped you be successful. And I love that you're passing that on to the tech tribe and also through the volunteer work you're doing. So thank you, sir. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you today.
Thank you for having me on and listening to my rants. I can rant on about these things forever and a day, as you can tell.
That was a very fantastic conversation with Mr. Nigel Moore. He's a really fun fellow to chat with. I think the main thing that stuck with me from that conversation, surprisingly, was how he described the progression of MSPs. So I was really curious, if you're an MSP owner, what does your role look like? What does your day-to-day look like over time? Would it be different from year to year? I would imagine it would be, as your MSP evolves and changes, especially as your business grows. And I thought this was absolutely fascinating, because as you grow your MSP, as your business expands, you'll find that your day-to-day tasks are very different. Your role as an owner, as CEO even of this MSP, changes based on how mature, at what stage your MSP is at right now. That really stuck with me. I thought that was fascinating. Another piece I really loved from my conversation was basically describing not only neuroplasticity, but kind of how you see your own business as well. In effect, we kind of came up with the funny term MSP plasticity. You want to see you as not how you are today alone, but as how you could be in the future. And so he described his business as the same way. So essentially, if you only see your MSP through the lens of as it is today, then that might be a little bit limiting on what your MSP could be tomorrow. So it's good to see your business as a set of general guidances, as general directions in which you'd like to go, instead of only focusing on the here and now today. So I thought that was very interesting to kind of always try to look forward, always look in the future into what you'd like your MSP today. It was really great chatting with Mr. Nigel Moore. And now we're going to dive into the MSP Hot Seat. And finally, now for the MSP Hot Seat. And this seat is hot. This question is one I had to think about for a bit. It is from an MSP, and it says, "We've been providing IT support for years, but we're struggling to transition into consulting. Where do we start?" I find this is a career path that a lot of MSPs find themselves on. They start as Mr. Nigel Moore and I were chatting about break fix operations. A lot of MSPs, that's where they start. Computer's broken, you got to fix it. That's pretty much the business model early on, and especially in the early days of MSPs. But moving away from simply providing IT support, break fix, to actually consulting work for their clients, for their customers, that's a whole nother game. And I find that really interesting because your mindset goes from, okay, give me a problem that I need to solve, to suddenly, okay, I'm going to proactively, not just reactively, but proactively help your business. A lot of times that comes down to helping businesses meet their compliances that they have to meet. For example, let's say you're an MSP, you have a lot of clients in the healthcare sector, maybe some dentist offices, and you've got to help them meet HIPAA compliance. That's an interesting challenge because you're no longer doing simple IT support. You're no longer fix computers. Now you're saying, hey, I'm proactively thinking about this thing that's really, really struggling in your organization. And in this case, HIPAA compliance. And you say, okay, I can help you with A, B, and C. We can encrypt the local hard drives, get some BitLocker keys set up. We can proactively think about email security. These are really good things. And that's what we found is MSPs, as they evolved over time, especially as they evolved into a more mature business, that transition to a consulting kind of role is really, really key, because then not only are you fixing computers, not only are you providing general IT support, but you are an invaluable asset to your clients, to your customers, beyond just IT, beyond just fixing things. So I think that's extremely key for any MSP that wants to grow beyond simply providing IT support and get into more of that consulting role, that guidance role for your customers. So it's been a blast, everyone. I deeply enjoyed my conversation with Mr. Nigel Moore. I hope you did too. And we look forward to chatting with you again. So for now, this is Jacob from Heimdal Security. Have a great day. That's a wrap on this episode of MSP Security Playbook. Thanks for spending part of your day with us. If you found today's insights helpful, be sure to follow the show on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. It helps other MSPs find the playbook and level up their security game. Got a question you want us to tackle in the MSP Hot Seat, or a topic you'd like to hear more about? Drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay sharp, stay secure, and keep building the future of your MSP business.